How's it going to work, Mr. O'Neill? Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Nick. Well, I think the first thing to say is I think we've got a bit of Chinese whispers going on with some of the newspapers this morning. That does tend to happen. So it's probably worth me clarifying.
Please do.
So first to say that it's not compulsory. It's a pilot for children in year 7 and 8. Should their parents wish to sign them up for it. They certainly don't have to come to the breakfast at 7:15 in the morning. But we had about 25 children in this morning enjoying a hot breakfast, sat with members of staff, which was lovely to see. And then at the end of the day, there's time to complete their homework. There's one-to-one tuition going on. And then after that, there's a range of activities, including multiple sports offers, drama club, oracy sessions, and cooking. And then they have a meal together, and it's almost like having a family meal with their friends. We want to send them home from school buzzing from having meaningful and positive, purposeful interactions with both their peers and also their teachers.
We'll talk about what you and your colleagues are doing at All Saints College in a moment, but more broadly, Mr. O'Neill, what has the impact of mobile phones been on the sphere of education and teaching?
Yeah, so there's been a fantastic book written this year by a guy called Jonathan Haidt called The Anxious Generation.
Sorry, the line clicked at just the wrong moment. Sorry, sir, The Anxious
Generation.
The Anxious Generation. Okay, so, yeah, go on, yeah.
And what this isn't new. We keep harking back to COVID and saying that COVID's caused all of these issues. I think COVID has certainly exacerbated and accelerated the issues. But as a school leader, and having been a school leader for nearly 20 years, since the rise of smartphones, we've seen this bubbling along and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And since effectively 2010, there's been a dramatic increase in the levels of anxiety amongst preteens and teenagers. And the one factor that has really changed for young people in that time is having a phone-based childhood.
If kids are doing a 12-hour day, do you think the teachers are going to waltz in and do exactly the same hours as the kids? No, they don't.
Well, presumably you don't need the whole staff on, do you?
No, but
that's what
employment legislation says, Nick.
Neil, I'll take the dodgeball class Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Neil, if you do Tuesday and Thursday, we've got it sorted.
No, you haven't.
Again,
I'll repeat this because you've just missed it. Employment legislation says you need 11 hours continuous break. Mm-hmm. So if you think that teachers rock up the same time as the kids, you're wrong.
Hold on.
Hang on, Nick, because I'm speaking from a perspective as just my spouse is a teacher.
Right.
So do you think my wife rocks up at home and then does no work? She doesn't. I used to work in Michelin-starred kitchens, and she does more hours than I ever used to. In that respect, she doesn't get the 11-hour break, and no teacher would.
Well, hold on.
You just wouldn't.
These teachers say that it's benefiting the children and they're happy to do dodgeball classes and basketball.
But you're quite happy for it to be an illegal practice. You're quite happy for that, are you?
But I don't know that it is I mean, I don't always get an 11-hour
I've just quoted you employment legislation.
Well, OK, you leave the school at 8. Hold on. You leave the school at 8, 4. You're back at... You've got your 11 hours. You're back at 8. You're fine.
No. I've just illustrated the point to you. You seem to think that, and this guy does, that the teachers rock up the same hours as the kids. They just don't.
Well,
when my wife finishes work, she comes home, we have dinner together with our 4-year-old, and then she opens a laptop for another 3 hours.
Right. Well...
So she finishes at 8... If the class finishes at 8 o'clock at night, that's a 20-minute drive home. Hang
on, we're not going to allow for drive homes. Come on, driving home, aren't we?
No, but I'm explaining the timeline to you.
By the time the cup of tea's made and I put my feet up, you can't be
off. She doesn't drink hot drinks. She doesn't drink hot drinks.
I knew she wouldn't.
She just doesn't. She doesn't like them.
All right. Well, maybe she'd have a better rest.
She has something to eat. That's 9 o'clock.
Well, I'm not going to have her eating time as well, for the love of God. I mean, she's off the clock then.
But the point I'm making is she then opens a laptop.
Hang on, she has a break during the day. Someone's just whispered in my ear, she has a break during the day. Ha-ha!
Yeah,
she has a break during...
She's entitled, under employment legislation, she's entitled to a half-hour break.
OK, so that's broken that cycle, so we're there. We're done. Why wouldn't you want to do it if the outcomes are so good for the kiddies, Neil?
She's working midnight, Nick.
Neil, why?
She's not getting 11 hours continuous break between shifts.
Neil, why wouldn't she want to do it if it's better for the kiddies?
Work-life balance. The law is on her side.
Well, I don't know if the law is on her side, Neil. Thank you for your... And quite rightly, and I'm not saying she shouldn't. She gets her break at lunchtime and possibly an afternoon... I'm trying to remember, it's so long since I was at school. Don't they have an afternoon break as well? Did we have a morning break? I can't even remember. We definitely had a lunch break.
One thing missing from that conversation with the head teacher was cost. Omitted completely. And the reason I say that is because, I've got experience of sending my own children to schools that have done extended day, state boarding schools, and it cost me thousands of pounds every term. Every term. So this
schools. State boarding schools as opposed to a skate boarding school.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see what that is. Yes, so cost was
turning up with your skateboard. Sorry, go on.
I'm just confused about the cost element because schools are struggling financially anyway. We know staff costs are their biggest expenditure.
Jackie,
so I'm wondering
he says the teachers are happy. I don't know. He's probably done some roster changes. I don't know. Mrs. Jones, who normally does biology and goes home at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday, she's going to do the netball class and she can start an hour late on a Thursday. I don't know. He'd have done all sorts of changes like that. And it works.
Well, it'd be interesting because if it worked, the replication of that would be good. But I know from my experience, they had more staff, number one. The staff were happy because, you know what? Just like private schools, they had extended school holidays. So they had, their 8 weeks at the summer, their 4 weeks at Christmas. Their staff there was happy.
Well, they'll say, of course, that they have to do some planning and goodness knows what else, and they're in, prior to the school actually opening. So I want to know this. If you had a child or children of this age, would you put them in a school such as this, where there was, if they wanted it, a 12-hour day, or would you not?
But I just said that I did.
You did? I'm so sorry, but that was the state. I'm sorry, in the boarding school. I'm so sorry. I see
and that's where I said that, even though it was a state school,
How many state boarding schools are there? Aren't that many around, are there?
No, but I'm just saying the concept of it was that it's a state school, so the state provides for the education. The extended school day was what parents had to fund at the cost of thousands of pounds a year.
How old are your children now, might I ask?
They're in their late teens.
How do they look back on their school years? Did they enjoy the state boarding school as opposed to the skateboarding school? Did they enjoy it?
Yes, because I don't know, perhaps the setup was a little bit different in that they have housing system and it was more of a community. Yeah. But what the head teacher was saying, they did, have their or could have their evening meals together.
I think
they
that's
did
really
participate
healthy.
in a lot of different sports and activities, just like he was saying. And as parents, rather than driving from A, B to Z to take them to, I don't know, netball or football or rugby or arts craft, as parents and for the community, it's a bit of a benefit.
I retired 18 years ago and I had mobile phone problems then.
Yeah.
2006 I retired, so we're talking the early 2000s.
How long had you been a teacher, sir?
30.
30 years. May I ask what subject did you teach?
It's science.
Oh, gosh, you're
Well, actually, Nick, they changed it to science. It was a biology. I was zoology trained, but in their wisdom, they changed it to science.
In 3 decades, in 3 decades, what was the biggest change you saw in teaching? Whether the syllabus, the pupils, the schools, the parents, what was the biggest change?
I had no trouble with pupils. I loved it. In fact, when I retired, I did supply because I knew in one day when I retired, I couldn't leave teaching. I loved it so much. It was a paperwork, Nick. The bureaucracy that came in.
Right.
With having to justify everything you did, every tick, every cross, every comment you put on a homework. For me, that was enough. I said I jacked it in because of that.
Okay.
But mobile phones were a problem in those days. The idea of the school in the All Saints in North Kent. Oh, by the way, is it a private school, Nick?
No.
Is it in the private sector?
No, it's not in the private sector, sir. It's a Catholic college.
Yeah, I mean, this is what really.
Why do you ask that? Because as the head pointed out, a lot of private schools do offer this, of course.
Yeah. Well, between the private sector, because I've worked in and taught children with some serious issues, very, very serious issues, family issues, and so on. But being voluntary, of course, it's wonderful. It's the teachers there.
Well, the headmaster told me that he's taken the pupils and the teaching staff and the parents with him on this idea. I have to take him at his word. If he's got the support and teachers are prepared to, I don't know, do a long day and then have half a day off the next week or whatever, it's got to be a good idea, Derek, right?
Well, I think it has. As I say, teachers have been sort of cringing at hearing about this. But if it's planned properly and they do get the rest, because I've seen teachers go home and work until midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
And I said to my wife and my family, I would never do that.
Right.
Never, ever end up like that, because you just can't do your job properly if you're going back the following day and you're tired, you haven't had enough sleep. It's just ridiculous. But if it's a good idea, if the teachers and parents and the kids love it, bring it on.